had our fun, gave her a proper send-off. Today is her last day. I'm going to go ahead and start gutting everything else I need out of this truck, which today my plan is transmission, transfer case, front drive shaft, four-wheel drive actuator assembly, and the radiator. That's all I think I need at this time. So I'm not going to bore you guys with the details. I'm going to go ahead and get after it and start slamming this transmission out. exhaust hanger is a little bit bent. Dodge likes to mount their exhaust very well. And bolted to the transfer case, they bolted to the bell housing, they bolted to the transmission cross member. Wow. First time you take the truck off-road and get high-centered, you smack an exhaust mount, it's stuck on there. Don't pry too hard, you don't want to bust the transfer case ears off. Now the fun part is, because there's so many other mounts, you can't take that one off. Most guys just cut it off with a sawzall and weld it back on later, but there's other ways of going about it. Sometimes it requires a bigger pry bar. Sometimes you're not on a lift, you don't have that big pry bar or room to swing it. Finally remembered how to get that thing out of there. You got to pry the exhaust down, rotate it 180 degrees, shove it up over the top of the cross member, it comes off. Also, Dodge uses these fiberglass heat shields on the frame rails. Where they could get to it, they are bolted. Where there's no way that you are going to be able to get a bolt in it, they have these funky little clips. And there it is. Pull that guy out, just like that. Now it's freed up. Get the rest of them. Get that bolt out, get that heat shield out of the way so we can get to these cross member bolts over here. Well, I should probably take it out of four-wheel drive. That's more better. Well, that cardan is a little stiff and blown up. Well, that was my four-wheel drive noise I was hearing. Two vacuum lines down here on the cross member. And those hard lines there will need to get unbolted off of the cross member before we pull the cross member out. Speed sensor on the back of the transfer case output. That's all the electrical. There is a group of vacuum lines up there, but we won't deal with that until we get the cross member out and get the transmission, tailing down a ways. I have found it infinitely easier to pull out the slave cylinder from the transmission instead of pulling the full hydraulic system with the transmission. Once the transmission's out of the way, you can get all the little clips and everything and get the slave cylinder and the full hydraulics out in one piece. those two vacuum lines we pulled off, their steel lines are right up here above, just out of the frame. They're right, there, you can see it. I got those unbolted from the frame, and I'm just gonna pull the whole four-wheel drive actuator with the lines attached, because on my other truck, the lines got bent to crap. Previous owner just unbolted them off with a cross member and then was dragging the truck around, so they were dangling down and got a little bit bent up. So we'll take these ones that I know work and are nice and straight. We'll swap the whole assembly over. So that's the guard, but those two bolts also are part of the mount. Disconnect our four-wheel drive indicator. Sometimes these pop off nicely. Oh yeah. I didn't drop the front axle oil. Yay me. Now, there's the four-wheel drive actuator. We'll get this out of here and get clean. As long as we're down here, go ahead and get this guard out of the way. Before I get out from under the truck to go get the transmission jack, I'm going to get every bell housing bolt I can reach right now, just half-inch drive and a wobbly. Then we'll get the cross member out of the way. One of the things that's kind of unique about these trucks, the transmission cross member actually sits on an angled plate right there. So it's actually wedged down against the frame. So you can pull all the cross member bolts and the transmission mounting bolts all the way across, and that cross member will sit right there. It will not drop down. You have to jack the transmission up into the air and then beat the cross member up, get it loose, and get it out. Got a block on the jack, put up the transmission, lifted it up. I also pull out the transmission mount bolts before I jack it up. And the reason I do that is once it's up, see, I can fit my hand in here, roll the whole transmission mount out. Now I can start beating on the cross member to get it out. I told you guys before this truck had been totaled, and at one point, right over there, just inside of where the cross member mounts, is where this frame has been cut in two because they decided to relieve the tension and then weld it back together. Typically these cross members are so freaking wedged in here, you almost got to get another jack underneath of it and lodge it up, get it unloaded, and then slide it out. This one is very loose, but I'm going to fight that exhaust mount over there, trying to get it far enough back. Sometimes you can twist them out. There we go. I got under the mount. Oh, where'd my pry bar go? Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. That is the name of the game. Ta-da! All right. Let the pressure off of the jack. Oh, one thing before I do that, I need to pull this exhaust mount off the bottom of the tail shaft housing real quick. That out of the way. Now we'll let the transmission down. Creep it down. Okay, the transmission's all the way down. Get this jack out of the way. I'm going to reach up over top, get the vacuum lines that are up there, get those loose, get the transmission jack underneath it. While it's tilted back, get it leveled up, get it set in place, pop the upper bell housing bolts, and out she comes. Once you lower it down a ways, you can get on top and get your reverse light wire. Part, because you use a semi-truck jack to pull transmission out of a 3/4 ton pickup, get your handy dandy forklift and lift the truck off the transmission. Yeah, that should do. Come here. Come here. Rag out from underneath the jack foot. Ah, yes. Come to Papa. Ah. Get out of here. The precious Dodge nv4500. She has been released from her shipping crate prison to go into another shipping crate. Now we can get this piece of junk out of the shop. Oh wait. Well, that was about an hour and a half of fun. Took a lot longer to do just because you know, run the video camera and everything. So now I'm gonna get cleaned up, organize my parts, all my nuts and bolts, debate whether I care enough to pressure wash that thing before I stab it into the other truck. Because that thing's been in the shop for like 4 days now. You guys haven't seen it yet, but I did get the front end assembled on that. I didn't even bother to video it. The front end of that truck is so freaking bent. It was a nightmare getting the body panels put onto it. So, fishing season's in like 2 days, 3 days. I really need that truck for hauling my boat. So, we're gonna get to this project real quick and get this transmission stabbed in there. So, yeah, I'm gonna get cleaned up, load up a couple bags of wood in the Toyota, head for home. Thanks for watching, guys.